Back in Mr. Dethick's office, he was sitting in his chair, ranting about all the disorder that had occurred in the city.
I want more scan patrols on the streets and in the workplaces. We must let people know there is no hope. All wages must be paid in full. I don't want any more outbreaks. This must be contained.
Mr. Dethick was ordering all the wagers to go out into the city and increase scanning badges and putting pressure on people so they wouldn't rebel. He couldn't afford any more of those. Not now, with an Apatan appearing and this precocious claiming a promise was made to her by this father. Mr. Dethick had nothing but hatred for this father and his son. Whatever the case, if they returned, he would put an end to them once and for all. The wagers flooded the city, increasing patrols on foot, by wagon, and in the factories. They scanned so many people, 3 times the usual amount that would normally go to jail, went to jail. There was an increase in people reaching their limit. When they were brought before Mr. Dethick, they suffered the same fate. The wagers became ruthless and purposely, this is what they did, antagonize people so they can act out, and they reached their limit. Mr. Dethick loved it. This should teach the people to question my authority. Within a 3-week period, the number of people went from about 50 a week jail to 150 a week, and was steadily increasing. The people became so restless with fear. Revolts increased. Slowly it became evident that the people had to do something or the whole city would be in prison. On the 4th week, the wager was out on patrol. He approached a group of kids, demanding that their badges be scanned. A group of teens. They reluctantly obliged. And just as they were about to scan the children, the wagers felt a sharp pain in his chest and he fell down dead. On sight, and the children were shocked. They never saw a wager drop dead before their eyes. Another wager from down the block noticed what happened and rushed to the scene, calling more wagers. What happened here? A wager asked as he checked the wager that lay dead on the ground. He asked to scan us and then he fell down dead. One of the boys from the group responded. Take him away. The wager ordered his fellow wagers and then he said, scanning will with presume. Line up one by one. And just as this wager was about to scan them, he also dropped dead. And so did the whole group of wagers that were with them. They all just dropped dead. The group of children stood frightened, not understanding what happened. They grew fearful, and one of the boys shouted,
Run! We will surely reach our limit if we stay. Run!
And they ran away fearfully. Now word reached Mr. Dethick.
A group of wagers were found dead on the city block. Sir, 35 wagers in all. Found dead.
A wager said, reporting back to Mr. Dethick, where he sat in his office. Never before had such a thing happened. 35 wagers dead with no foul play or culprits to be held responsible.
Well, what happened? Did you find out who did it?
Mr. Dethick asked.
That's the thing, sir. No one was around when we found them. No one. It seems the wagers just dropped dead. The medics are examining them now, the wager said,
afraid of what Mr. Dethick might do. From that day on, the wagers started dying, with no explanation. They dropped dead in factories, on streets, and wagons. Some were found, and in a week span, 350 wagers died, causes unknown. Instead of Mr. Dethick stopping the scanning,
he ordered his wagers to increase.
But sir, something strange, a wager responded when told to send double the number of wagers out as before.
Nothing strange is going on. A sheer coincidence. Increase badge scanning and bring out anyone who much as looks like he's at his limit to me.
Mr. Dethick screamed angrily. And so that is what the wagers did. They sent many wagers out, and the persecution persisted, and the people grew faint. Hope was diminishing. That same day, the man appeared to Precocious once more. The cell was completely dark and cold. Precocious, the man called over and over again. She awakened. She did not remember falling asleep, and she didn't know how long she'd been asleep either. She awoke refreshed. "Hello, sir," she said, smiling at the man who smiled back at her. He lit up the whole cell with his light.
"It is time, Precocious. You will leave this cell today, never to return," he said, holding
out a hand to her. She grabbed his hand and sat up. Precocious did not know it had been a whole month since she had fallen asleep. "But with Mr. Dethick, how?" she asked, confused. "Never mind. Mr. Dethick, I will deal with him. Precocious, it is time. You are to walk out of this cell and appear to the people of the city. And when they see you, they will believe and they will stop fearing Mr. Dethick," the man now said, lifting Precocious to her feet. "But how?" she asked once more. "You are to walk straight out of the building. No one will try to stop you," he said, opening the cell door by simply touching it with his hands. "Go, Precocious, now," he said calmly. Precocious did just as she was told. She stepped into the hallway, and the wagers that guarded her door lay on the ground dead. Once Precocious saw, she ran down the hall, then down another and another until she reached the entrance of the prison. And from there she simply walked out of the front door, the smell of fresh air instantly hitting her nostrils. Precocious walked right out of the front gate of the prison. When Precocious reached the city square, she stopped, taking off her cloak. She now revealed herself. For a moment, no one recognized her, and then Candor appeared 2 feet in front of her. He could not believe his eyes. It was impossible. He knew for sure Precocious was gone, had been for nearly 6 weeks. He thought he was hallucinating when she spoke. "Candor, it's me. I told you the man was real, and that there was a way out. See?" she said, running to embrace him. "No, impossible. It can't be," he said, looking at her wide-eyed as she hugged him. He could feel she was real, but he didn't understand how. No one ever made it out. "No, Candor, it's not impossible. It's true. And the man is going to defeat Mr. Dethick once and for all. No one will ever go to that wretched place again," she said, beaming excitedly. And just then, someone yelled, "Is this Precocious Broderson?" "It is!" And all the people stopped what they were doing and looked to see. And a crowd slowly gathered around her, and she felt consumed. "Yes, this is Precocious Broderson, and she has broken away from the prison," Candor yelled into the crowd because he could see Precocious was unable to speak. "Impossible," someone yelled. "How'd she do it?" someone else said. And from there the crowd went into a frenzy. "I will tell you," Precocious said, regaining her voice. She told them of the papers she found, the fireplace, the man, the promise from the man's father, and how he'd defeat Mr. Dethick once and for all and put an end to the prison forever. And she spoke to the crowd, the crowd listened intently, and the people began to hope. With all of the persecution going on in the city, people needed something to believe in, and someone. After all, Precocious was now standing in front of them, alive and free. There had to be some truth to what she spoke.